Okay, so let's try to explain this. Really, what happens is when it's greater or less than or equal to, or whether you use a bracket or a parentheses, right? It all depends on the sign here. Okay, so if it's less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, for that boundary you use brackets. If it's less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, then you use parentheses. Okay? Now remember, I said for that boundary. So for example, okay, let's look at the problem that we have here on top. We have 4x is less than 12. So we go ahead and divide by 4, and we end up with x is less than 3, right? So my boundary, right, is at 3, right? X has to be less than 3, and obviously it goes to negative infinity. So you've really got two boundaries, right? So when we're ready to write our solution, we have our lowest boundary needs to be negative infinity, and our highest boundary is 3, because x has to be less than 3. Now, if you take a look at the sign, it says less than, right? It does not say less than or equal to, right? It actually has this one. So because it doesn't have the equal to, that x cannot be 3, and you show it by saying a parenthesis. So for that boundary, for that upper boundary, x cannot be included, so you put a parenthesis. And then for the infinity, well, that's never included, so you go ahead and just write it's never included. You know, you go ahead and put a parenthesis. Okay. Now, let me back up here. What did I do? Let's see here. Okay, now see if I can do something else here. Okay, now if I had another problem, let's say I had, 3x is greater than or equal to 6. Well, if we solve this again, right? If we solve this again, right? We divide by 3, and we get x is greater than or equal to 2. Okay? Once again, look at each boundary. You know one of them's going to be at 2. X has to be greater than 2. So we're going to positive infinity, right? So my lowest boundary is 2. That's the lowest value that x could be. X stops at 2. That's where things change. X has to be greater than. So then the highest boundary is positive infinity. Okay, recall that the boundary goes lowest boundary, comma, upper boundary, right? So low, comma, upper. That's how you write the your interval notation. So according to this, x is greater than 2. That makes sense, right? X is greater than 2. But because of our inequality sign, that is or equal to, it's also a bracket. So it's a bracket to positive infinity. So when we're writing our interval notation, we say from 2, including 2, which means we use a bracket, to positive infinity. Well, infinity is never included, so we use a parenthesis for that. Okay, let me do that one more time. Like that, okay? So I hope this helps, okay? Let me know if it does. I'd be happy to send you some more examples.